What would it take for a 19-year-old girl to walk into one of the most charged tennis arenas in North America, stand across the net from the reigning champion, and completely dismantle her in front of thousands of screaming fans? Not just win, dismantle, completely, from 2 sets down to match point. Controlled, calculated, ice cold. That's not a hypothetical. That happened, right here in Washington, D.C. And if you haven't heard the name Eala yet, you're about to understand why the entire world of women's tennis is paying very close attention. Let's go back before the noise, before the flags and the packed stadium and the viral celebrations. Let's go back to where the story really starts, because context matters more than you think here. April 2026. Stuttgart, Germany. Indoor clay. Leylah Fernandez, one of the most technically gifted players in the game today, stepped onto the court against a teenager named Eala. And Fernandez didn't just win. She won decisively. 6-1 in the first set. 6-4 in the second. It wasn't competitive. It was clinical. Fernandez controlled every single rally from the baseline, varied the pace before Eala could settle, and exposed every small weakness with ruthless precision. Eala left Germany without answers. Now here's where most players in that situation make a crucial mistake. They retreat. They protect themselves emotionally. They blame the conditions, the surface, the day. But Eala did something harder and something rarer. She sat with the loss. She studied it. She used the pain as a map that showed her exactly where she needed to go. Every training session after Stuttgart was built around one question. What does it actually take to compete at Fernandez's level? 3 months later, she had her answer ready. Washington, D.C., July 29th, 2026. The William H. G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center. Normally, this is a professional tennis venue that draws a polished crowd of casual sports fans and dedicated tennis followers. But something different was happening the week of the D.C. Open this year. Something the tournament chairman himself described as unlike anything he'd seen at this event. In the weeks leading up to the tournament, the organizers began tracking ticket inquiries. They had a stacked field, top 20 players, Grand Slam champions, global superstars with loyal fan bases. But when they looked at the data, they found something remarkable. More than 80% of all ticket inquiries were asking a single specific question. When is Eala playing? 8 out of every 10 people reaching out about this tournament weren't asking about the draw, the surface, the schedule in general. They want to know about one player, a 28-ranked, 19-year-old from Quezon City in the Philippines. Tournament chairman Mark Ine told the media that Eala had become something beyond a tennis player. She had become a symbol, not just for Filipino fans, but for a global audience watching someone young, someone new, someone who hadn't been given a seat at the table yet, building one herself point by point, match by match. The stadium on match day looked like nothing Washington, D.C. tennis had seen before. Philippine flags from the upper rows to the courtside seats. Fans who had driven from Virginia, from New York, from Maryland, from hours away, filling every corner with color and noise. And right there in the middle of all of it, warming up on court, was a 19-year-old who once practiced her ground strokes on a basketball court back home. Before we get to the match itself, you have to understand something about this rivalry that makes it genuinely unlike most of what you see in women's tennis right now. Leylah Fernandez and Eala aren't just opponents. They share something that goes far deeper than tennis. Both are left-handed. Both have Filipino heritage. Fernandez's mother was born in the Philippines, and that connection has never been something she treats as a marketing angle. She has visited the country multiple times. She talks about the food, about the grandparents, about the warmth she feels when Filipino communities across the world welcome her as one of their own. It's personal for her in a way that doesn't require explanation. And Eala, on the other side, is a living embodiment of everything the Filipino tennis community has been building toward. World number 28. The first Filipino player in the Open era to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam. A Wimbledon run that had millions of people in the Philippines watching at 3 a.m, phones in hand, too invested to sleep. Fernandez herself, before this match, had spoken publicly about Eala with genuine admiration. She described her as a mirror image, Two left-handed fighters with Filipino roots who give everything they have on every single point. She called her fierce, elegant, relentlessly determined. She said, watching Eala sometimes felt like watching herself from the outside. Those weren't press conference words. You could hear it in the way she said them. But here's the thing about admiration in professional tennis. It ends the moment you step through the gate. Whatever existed between these two players off the court disappeared the second the first ball was struck. Fernandez came out swinging, and for a moment, it looked like Stuttgart all over again. She broke Eala's serve in the third game, jumped to a 3-1 lead. The portion of the stadium holding its breath grew very quiet. The energy that had been so loud and so alive just minutes earlier suddenly became nervous, tentative. Was this going to be another lesson? But if you followed Eala for any length of time, you know something important about her. Being behind doesn't rattle her. It focuses her. Just days earlier in the opening round, she had faced Olympic champion Jing Qinwen and dropped the entire first set. And then she went on to win 5 consecutive games and take the match. After that victory, she said something that tells you everything you need to know about how her mind works. She talked about having a comeback mentality that's always been part of her, not just believing you can come back.
Trusting that belief when the pressure is highest. Trailing 3-4 in the first set, facing a break point that could have essentially ended the set before it really started, Eala hit a forehand winner down the line. Not a safe shot. Not a defensive chip into the open court. A winner. Flat, heavy, right down the line. Fernandez didn't have an answer for it. The stadium erupted. The energy that had gone quiet came flooding back louder than before. From that single moment, the momentum of the match shifted completely. Eala broke back immediately. She carried that wave all the way to the end of the set and took it 6-4. The second set was different from everything that came before it. If the first set was a battle, the second set was a statement. Eala's ground strokes found a level she hadn't shown earlier in the match, deeper off both sides, heavier through the middle of the court, landing in places that forced Fernandez to do the one thing she hates doing, react instead of dictate. Every time Fernandez tried to change the rhythm, tried to introduce a new pattern, tried to find a way back into the exchange, Eala had something ready. The decision-making was sharp and clean. There was no panic, no hesitation. Every answer came quickly and with full commitment. Fernandez, one of the most tactically sophisticated players in the game, was running out of solutions. Eala took the second set 6-3. Final score of the match, 6-4, 3-6, 6-2. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Defending champion. Conquered. When the match was over, Eala spoke to the press with a calm that matched everything she had shown on court. She acknowledged Fernandez's quality. She said she has enormous respect for everything Fernandez has accomplished in the sport. But she also said something that stood out. She said she knew she had to be aggressive. She knew she had to go out and take the match rather than wait for it to come to her. That's not something you can coach into someone. That's character. Naomi Osaka, 4-time Grand Slam champion, had sat down with the media before the tournament and spoke about Eala the way you talk about someone you know is going to be a major force in your sport. She said Eala is incredible, that she's a genuine star, and that there's something really special about having someone young people can look up to and see themselves in. When Osaka speaks about the next generation, people listen. And she wasn't being polite. She was being honest. Now here's where the story shifts from extraordinary to genuinely exciting, because what's happening with Eala's ranking situation right now is something every serious tennis fan should understand. She came into the DC Open defending just 70 ranking points across the entire North American hard court swing. 70. That number is almost impossibly small for a player now ranked 28th in the world. What it means in practical terms is that almost everything she earns between now and the US Open in late August is pure gain. There are no heavy points from last year's results waiting to drop off. There's no pressure of maintaining a big number from a previous run. She's building on open ground. Even reaching the quarterfinal in Washington was already worth more points than her entire North American campaign the previous year. A semi-final run brings close to 200 points. A runner-up finish brings more than 300. And a title would deliver 500 points, and something that ranking numbers don't fully capture, a permanent place among the elite names of women's tennis. She enters this stretch of the season with 1,666 ranking points at a career high. The gap between where she is now and a top 24 ranking is just 163 points. One deep run in one tournament. That's the math. The U.S. Open seeding cutoff falls on August 24th. She's already safely inside the top 32, which guarantees her a seed at Flushing Meadows. But a top 16 seed, a top 8 seed, those aren't distant fantasies anymore. They're outcomes that are completely within reach, depending on how the North American swing unfolds. What makes all of this feel earned rather than lucky is the journey that sits behind it. Eala left home at 13 years old to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain. 13. Thousands of miles from her family, in a foreign country, learning a new language and a new standard of tennis simultaneously. That kind of solitude at that age either breaks you or builds something in you that can't be shaken later. For her, it built something. The discipline, the composure, the ability to stay locked in during the hardest moments of a match, those aren't natural gifts. Those are the result of years of difficult, unglamorous, quiet work when nobody was watching and nobody was filming. Ask her about rankings, and she gives you an answer that sounds simple, but isn't. She's said before that she doesn't see herself any differently because of a number. She knows the work she's put in.
She knows who she is.
She's not chasing rankings. She's chasing proof. Proof that the years of sacrifice were worth it. Proof that everything she gave up, every birthday at home she missed, every moment of loneliness in a foreign training facility, was building towards something real. On July 29th in Washington, D.C., in front of thousands of her people, under the lights, against the defending champion, she delivered that proof. But the work isn't finished. It's barely started. After Washington, the calendar opens into the biggest stretch of her career so far. The National Bank Open in Toronto, where she's already earned a first-round bye. Cincinnati. And then New York. Flushing Meadows. The U.S. Open. The final grand slam of the season. Every point between now and late August is a brick in a foundation that could define the next 5 years of her career. Nobody can predict what happens next. Not even the people who believe in her most deeply. Tennis is too unpredictable, the competition too fierce, the margins too thin. A single set can change everything. That's what makes this next chapter so compelling to follow. But what the last 2 weeks have made undeniably clear is this. The girl from Citi, who started chasing tennis balls on a basketball court, who left home at 13 to bet everything on a dream, who sat in a locker room in Stuttgart absorbing a brutal defeat and turned it into fuel, who walked into a packed Washington, D.C. stadium carrying the weight of an entire nation's hopes and didn't blink once. That girl belongs at the top of this sport. She didn't stumble there. She built her way there. And if what we've seen over the past 2 weeks is any indication at all, this is only the beginning. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon so you never miss our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.